James, thank you for joining us this morning,
Welcome.
and congratulations on being nominated for a UEG 2018 Rising Star Award. Can you just tell us a little bit about your research career?
Yeah, so I trained at the University of Oxford for my sort of clinical training and did a little bit of research when I was there, but not very much. But my research career really took off about 10 years ago now, when I was awarded a place to do a PhD in the University of Cambridge. I worked with a guy called Ken Smith, who is actually a renal physician, and was interested in trying to understand a little bit more about the biology of prognosis and outcome in renal diseases. And I thought this was a fascinating area, and I essentially brought inflammatory bowel disease to the lab, and I spent my PhD really working on that and trying to understand a bit more about that. I then did a sort of postdoc while I was finishing up my clinical training within the UK. And then a couple of years ago, I was awarded a Wellcome Trust Intermediate Fellowship, which enables me to sort of become more independent and start my own group. And actually, as part of that, I spent the first 2 years of the fellowship at Harvard. So came back from Harvard at Christmas, and I'm now just sort of reacclimatising to the UK.
Great. And what would you say has been your greatest research achievement to date?
Yeah, that's a difficult question. There have been a few things that obviously stick out, in which, having cell paper and things like that is great. I think probably in the sort of broader scale, I think the thing that we've shown across several different projects is that the biology of what determines what happens to you when you get a disease, so whether you end up with an aggressive relapsing course or a pretty mild course, appears to be very different from the biology that determines what caused you to get the disease in the first place. And that sort of distinction between the genetics and the biology and the of outcome as opposed to susceptibility is something that we've shown consistently. I think it opens up new drug targets in terms of finding new pathways that you might be able to go after. And one of the really nice things has been that since we've done this, other people have started to re-examine their data in other diseases, and sure enough, this seems to be a pretty common theme, that actually while we've spent a long time thinking about disease susceptibility and pathways that cause disease to develop in the first place, actually there's another layer of biology that's really important for determining what happens to people, which may well be very different from what was going on to actually initiate the disease at the start.
And your recent research is focused on IBD and sort of genetics.
Yeah.
Can you just talk us through sort of why IBD sort of fascinates you in particular?
Yes, I mean, IBD I personally find absolutely fascinating for lots of reasons. I think it's a really complex interplay between the gut bacteria and viruses and fungi, with the mucosal immune system, and then with the innate and adaptive immune systems interacting with this as well. And I think the fact that there's clearly a genetic predisposition to this, but that is not, that the nature of that relationship is complex. It's not a straightforward, this is the gene, this is the cause. So all of this puts together to actually something that is fantastically complex. It's fascinating to try and unpick that. And I think, there are big wins to be had, because this is a disease that doesn't affect people when they get to their 80s or 90s typically. It's a disease that affects people at the time when they're trying to finish their education and hold down jobs and, start families. And so actually there are huge wins to be made by better understanding the disease and finding better ways to treat it and ultimately hopefully aim for a cure.
And what does winning a UEG Rising Star Award mean to you?
So, I'm immensely honoured by this. I mean, the UEG Rising Star Award is something that is known, pretty much throughout the world. It's great for me personally, but I couldn't have done it without all the people I've worked with all the way through, both from having mentors and and supervisors, through to now having students in my lab and research assistants and so on. So I'm immensely proud of this, but it's really testament to all the people I've worked with as well, going back over the last 10 years.
And what's the next stage of your career?
So we're now doing some slightly different things to what we've done before. A lot of the time I spent in Harvard was trying to develop new techniques to enable us to sort of move from an understanding of where genetic associations are located in the genome to a better understanding of the biology that's actually driving that association. So we're doing a lot more work now on trying to use molecular biological tools to unpick a lot of the underlying biological reason that underpins genetic associations.
Thank you very much, James, and congratulations again on your Rising Star
Thank you
Award.
very much.